Everyone, Adam here. So is your podcast. I got to sit down with Dan Karlok and Bill Rutkoski, and I really hope I didn't butcher their names again. I kind of did at the beginning of the video, to talk about their newest movie, Crappy Mother's Day. Writer-director combo team. It's a comedy about, Mother's Day, obviously just going terribly wrong. It was based on a short skit that I believe Dan used to do. They go into more detail into the interview. I don't need to rehash the whole thing here. But this is a pretty funny movie, and what I really liked was they took some interesting angles to the comedy or new takes on the comedy. And one thing that always gets me is the more obscure, deeper cut references. The example in this case is, everyone references things like Star Wars or, those big franchises. You can't get away from jokes on them sometimes. And fine, I'm all for it, but it's been done. And they go really in on an odd character's obsession with Planet of the Apes and make some great references. And I just love that reference adjacent kind of thing. These guys were really fun to talk to. You can see why they make comedies. I'll just make mention real quick that Dan had a last minute thing come up. So he had to do the interview from his car, which he ran into some connection issues. And I did my best to kind of clip him a bit without losing content. But I'm just really happy that he made it work, because somebody else could have just called and canceled. And of course things come up, I wouldn't have felt, badly towards him for it. But the fact that he made it happen, I think it's worth dealing with a little bit of internet jitters there. So just be warned when it comes up. It's not your connection. It's not the video. It's going to pass. It was still a lot of fun. It's still really worth checking out. Like I said, their newest movie, Crappy Mother's Day, is available now. All right, hey everybody, Adam here, So Wizard Podcast. I'm sitting down with Bill Rutkoski.
Close enough. Yeah, I'll take
Should
any
have
of
asked
those.
you before we started. Sorry about
That's
that, Bill.
fine. No, that's perfect. Yeah.
And Dan Karlok, who I misspelled his name, Dan, the first name.
Said it right. But you said it right though, so that's extra points.
That's what counts for people who are listening. You guys have a new movie coming out, Crappy Mother's Day. But before we get to that, I always like to ask creative people how you got into your field. I'd like to go all the way back to the beginning. If you want to start, Dan?
Wow.
Sure.
Okay.
I have to say, I'm one of those kids that ever since I was 8 years old, all I wanted to do was make movies. And I had my little Super 8 camera, my little Kodak Brownie camera, would go in the backyard and usually blow up my brother somehow, or pretend I was about to blow him out, and then cut to one of my Aurora Monster models, stick a firecracker in it, and that would blow up as though it was supposed to be. But
All right.
so I've been doing it for a long time, and then luckily I got a foot in the door and started doing lighting on movies and TV shows, and got onto Law and Order, and was doing all my own projects on the side, and I would show them my work, and finally got up the guts to ask them, and they let me direct an episode.
Awesome.
And and so I do a lot of bigger projects, and then I've got all my passion projects, and just love making films. So anytime I can do that, I'm a happy guy.
Awesome. How about you, Bill?
Well, I'll try to be real quick. I grew up in Pennsylvania, started off doing community theater, thought, well, this is what I want to do, moved to New York, went to the Improv, and people always found me funny whether I wanted them to or not. So I thought, I'll go to the Improv, I'll look, and I saw these guys performing. I thought, I could do that. So the next 20 so years, I worked as a comedian, did some acting a little in between, lived in Los Angeles, did some sitcoms, stuff like that, and I wrote a lot of one-act plays, a full-length play, had them produced, and this movie, in fact, came from a one-act play. It was a 15-minute one-act play that we decided to just extend it, and that's it in a nutshell right there.
Okay, cool. And how did the two of you link up? Was it for this movie, or have you worked together in the past?
Well, we know each other in the past. We sort of worked together. What was the name of that movie, Dan? The Last Request?
We worked on, it was a comedy called The Last Request that I shot, and you were in.
That's right.
Back in 2002.
So I guess we did work together.
Yeah, that would count.
Yeah. So that's how we met, and then we kind of lost touch because I moved out to California, and then I came back here, and we hooked up somehow. I think through my brother Mike.
And that was for Crappy Mother's Day?
Actor.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yeah, I wrote the script and then I decided to give it to Dan to let him read it, see if he thought it was funny and worth doing, and he agreed. I'm not sure why, but he did.
But he told me after I agreed, he said, "Oh, by the way, can we shoot it in 8 days?" And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna.
I
Once
told him
you committed.
after he agreed, I asked him that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the original sketch, how many elements from that, or how many elements from the movie were created just for the movie that were not in the original?
I guess 3/4 of it, if I understand your question.
Well, I mean, like the uncle characters, were they in there? Or did it focus more on the mother-daughter thing?
Right. The play, the 15-minute play, was the mother and daughter, the Dimpy character, and the fiance. That was it. There was those 4 people.
Okay.
Yeah. So the others came later after we extended. Yeah.
Okay, so even the what would be the main character's grandmother came later.
Oh yeah, all these came later. Yeah. And it was
Okay.
mostly because my mother was such a whack job. I shouldn't say that, but anyway, she was crazy, and there was so many funny things she did, and that's what made me want to write this. I thought I just got to get this on film. Some of this stuff that you wouldn't believe that my mother did these things, but she did.
All right. Dan, did you have any input on the script after you got it? Like, was there any like rewrites throughout the process?
Yeah, Bill is great that way. He had, basically the whole story was there. I threw my 2 cents in here and there as a director of going, well, we need this. I felt like there needed to be an emotional scene between the mother and the daughter that Bill agreed with, and he wrote it, and just little things here and there. I mean, it was actually a very interesting collaboration process, because generally the director and writer don't have that great of a relationship sometimes. And Bill and I were on the same page on a lot of things. So not that we didn't butt heads on occasion, but we definitely worked together to make what was good even better.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, Dan did have some input, and it worked well. And I was grateful for it. It made the movie better.
Yeah, it just seems like you guys have a really easy, natural back and forth. So I figured that it might be more collaboration than here's the script, do it as written.
Well, I'll tell you, Dan is is better than me, because I will tell you quickly, one of my brothers is in it, who just couldn't get a line straight. He couldn't get it straight, and we're going over about 10 times. And I was banging. When I say I was banging my head against the wall, I was literally doing this, because the makeup woman just looked at me and was like, she started getting scared of me, because I was just so angry that he couldn't get it right. So Dan calmed me down, and we finally got it. But yeah, so I was losing a little bit at that.
That's actually something, Dan.
Right during. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the banging was so loud that it actually wrecked the take. It was actually a good take. All of a sudden, we heard a thump, thump, thump from the other room. And I realized he was banging.
Dan, that's not true. That's not true. Why you're making up stuff now?
So, we can hear. I'll show you. I'll play you the outtake.
Okay, forget it. I believe you.
I was just going to say that Dan and I talked for a few minutes before we started recording, and we kind of mentioned the dialogue, that it's so quick, and the other characters are responding before the line's even done a lot of times. So, I mean, he was saying that it was a 100-page script that got like 70 minutes. He had to add a little bit to it.
Oh yeah, we had to improvise a little bit.
Is that your kind of normal writing style for a comedy? Is that rapid fire?
I would think so. I never really thought about it, but I guess, I have to look at my other scripts now and see if that's true. But yeah.
Okay.
Well,
it's interesting
with this kind of story, that you couldn't wait for someone to finish and the other person to start. It really felt, if you're as a family, as you know, if you're sitting around a dinner table, you're never getting your whole thought out, and then someone else, everybody's always talking over each other. I really felt it was important that there was that overlap, which sometimes my man wanted to strangle me, but I really felt it was important that everybody had that immediacy, because it's like any family, they're they're not going to wait for you to be finished before they start talking.
For sure, and it also really added to the manic feel of the entire thing. Like they're just in this whirlwind of chaos.
There was an ad lib that I loved. Well, there were a few that I loved. And Addison, one of the character played the fiance, yeah. And they were playing Planet of the Apes, where my brothers with Ape Mask are hosing him down. And he said, they destroyed all the they destroyed everything and left the monuments. What a weird thing to do. And
yeah, he was great.
Yeah, he really was. Yeah,
he was funny. All of his like when he first meets your character, Bill, he could not figure you out, and it was so good at that introduction scene.
I agree. Oh, that was another line he said when I said, "See you, wouldn't want to be you," and he said, "Yes, you would." Which made me laugh. So that was an ad lib.
And Dan, you mentioned that you guys added some stuff in the beginning and some stuff in the end to get your runtime up. Was that one of them?
Yeah, we did. There's a whole opening sequence, kind of like telling the history of Mother's Day that
right.
Not in the original script that I think it actually makes it even better because it kind of sets up what you're about to see. So I think it actually works pretty well.
Yeah, and then the whole movie.
At the end, I was able to get my dog a cameo.
Oh yeah, and the whole movies were inserted too. That was a thing that we didn't have in the initial script.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was kind of the emotional resonance that you guys were looking for.
Right.
So that the coffee scene or the coffee shop scene in the beginning, where the characters all kind of first come together, that was part of the original script. Then, that pretty much is the 15-minute play. That scene in because obviously play it's one set, so it all took place right there, and that was it. And then that was the end. Once there was no going over to mom's house or grandma's house for Mother's Day. It just sort of ended there. Like you know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and then it ended. Oh, okay. That's interesting, but it also makes a lot of sense when you say that.
Yeah.
Did you find it hard to take that one act thing that you've been doing and, I mean, you didn't double it or triple it, like you went way beyond.
Yeah. No, I really didn't, because it seemed like once we said we were going to grandma's house, it seemed to open up a lot of possibilities. And then other characters, of course, were involved. And so, all these different characters came to mind, wacky uncles, the whole bit.
It just kind of flows.
Yeah.
So, Bill, you have a lot of background in comedy, you were saying. Dan, how about you? Have you directed a lot of comedies in the past?
I've been very fortunate. Yeah, I work with the Comedy Hall of Fame, and I've been doing a project now, actually, believe it or not, for over 10 years, interviewing comedians, everybody from Jonathan Winters and Phyllis Diller and Jerry Lewis to Bill Hader and Whitney Cummings and Betty White. We've done over 100 interviews, and I've gotten to speak to them about the craft of comedy, how they create their comedy, and I keep getting great takeaways from all that. So when I do my projects, I kind of already have a built-in catalog of a lot of do's and don'ts when it comes to directing comedy.
Well, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
it is. I saw one. I was going to say I saw the one with Sid Caesar. That I think was Sid Caesar that you did.
Yeah, that was fun. You had to hang out with Sid Caesar for an hour and a half talking about comedy. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. Or Jonathan Winters.
Really,
it was. He met us at his door, and I was expecting him to actually meet us. I thought we'd get one of his assistants, and he met us at the door. And it took 45 minutes to get through the door because he started right away with shtick, and I couldn't even, Mr. Winters, I have to go get the camera because I'm missing all this. And he was great. And again, it's like a kid in a candy store getting to hang out with all these comedy legends and hear what they have to say about comedy. It's been a great experience for me.
And just the different generations of comedy that you've come across, just in the few names that you mentioned.
Yeah, no, Carl Reiner, and then we kind of went for some of the older, because of the fact that they were getting older. But now we've moved on. We've gotten people like Robert Klein and Hannibal Buress, and the guys who we've gotten so far. It never stops. It never stops. There's always somebody else to get, but it's been a great experience for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. That sounds very interesting. And speaking of the way that comedy has kind of changed, Bill, have you had to adapt how you write or do comedy throughout the years? Because it seems now is very different than even 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't, I wouldn't say that I really adapted it, except that as far as things you can say and do are more accepted. I mean, if you look at a television show even 10 years ago or 15 years ago, there were things that, saying asshole, it wasn't so accepted, or cursing wasn't so accepted. So I think I've adapted a little bit that way, that you could pretty much do whatever you want,
Yeah, that makes sense too. Yeah, I didn't think of it from that point of view. I was thinking a lot of without going too deep into it, of course, like political things, or maybe I shouldn't make that joke. I'm not trying to put you on the spot with anything specific. It just seems like being a comedian right now is maybe a little bit difficult.
Yeah, well, first of all, there's no place to perform. But I must say,
yeah.
And I must say, I haven't performed stand-up comedy for a while. Like I left it really, and to pursue writing more and acting more. But yeah, I mean, with COVID going on and everything in the news, yeah, it makes it a lot trickier to find these things funny or make them funny.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of the COVID situation, when was this movie shot?
Right before.
Well, we like that.
Right?
We did it right before. Yeah. So
Yeah,
we got it
just
all in the
snuck
can right before it all happened. So we were in the editing process afterwards. So.
Right, and we got into a few film festivals, and we were able to have one screening at one film festival in New York, and that was in January of last year. And then the other film festivals just fell through, obviously, because of COVID.
Right, they didn't even go digital.
No, so that was disappointing. But I was happy that we were able to get at least one screening at film festival, because that was a lot of fun.
You were both able to attend the screening?
Yes.
Yeah, that is good. Because that seems to be the biggest letdown with people who have movies coming out. It's like, it seems like a double-bladed sword, where on one hand, going digital, you get a lot more reach to a lot more people, right, but you miss that experience of the festival circuit or seeing with a live audience or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's that, and then there's a lot of networking with people that you meet there at the festival. The festival goes on, well, sometimes 3 days, sometimes longer, I guess. So you get to go and meet a lot of different people. So I certainly missed that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Did you find in the screening you did get to have, which is awesome that you did, were people laughing where you expected and reacting the way you expected at the right times?
For the most part, yeah. There's one line in the movie that, and I'm trying to remember it now, and there was only one guy that laughed hysterically, and it was about smelling babies' heads. Where my character Gimpy goes, "I love the newborn baby, the greatest smell, smelling babies' heads," and nobody really laughed at that. But one guy was just laughing like hysterically at that. So I thought, well, I think we have the same sense of humor, I guess.
Yeah, that's funny. I always love hearing the stories about I didn't expect people were going to like that as much as they did, or, like the baby head thing. That's great, because it's
right.
Makes the theater experience that much funnier that now you walk away with that on top of the movie.
Yeah, well, I go, why did that guy find it funny? And then, 75 other people didn't, So am I wrong? I don't know.
Yeah, you got somebody. That's what you're looking for. You got to laugh.
Yeah.
Was there, I don't want to go too negative with it, but was there anything that was kind of the opposite, where you thought like this is going to kill, and it just kind
of... Geez, nothing comes to mind.
That's good.
But another thing does come to mind that got big laughs. And the two brothers are talking with the fiance, and he says something like, however, and they just found the most bizarre thing. They go, however, did you hear what he said? However, I love the boxy shorts. However, I love to wear them. And they keep mocking him with however. and it gets a huge laugh, and I can't figure out why.
I think a lot of it had to do with the cadence of the two brothers, because they really felt like those two brothers who are uncomfortably close and they're always by each other's side. And
Oh God.
Those two actors, did they know each other previous?
They're my actual brothers.
Oh, okay. So they are two brothers who are close.
Yeah, they are two brothers. Yeah, so they are pretty close. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That definitely translates through, because they seem really comfortable with each other, which that's the job of an actor, of course.
Sure. Yeah, that just
awesome.
happens to be true. Yeah, it just happens to be real.
Okay, yeah. Dan had also mentioned earlier that there was a lot of family and friend help. I was just saying that you mentioned before we started recording that there was a lot of family and friend help to get this done, especially done in the 8 days.
Oh yeah.
So I guess casting family was a big part of that.
Yeah, my wife just did everything. And so
we're very fortunate.
Right. Some of the stunts in the movie Dan actually did. So he stepped in and did some of the stunts.
I'm here, but I seem to be breaking up a bit.
Oh, sorry.
If you can hear me or not.
Well, we can hear you. I
can hear you. Yeah. Hopefully it clears.
Well, anyway, that was a joke.
I just heard that. I think it's better now. I think I must have been in a dip. I must have been in a dip.
Oh, okay. Bill was just saying that you stepped in and handled the stunts.
Yeah, for Grandma, because Grandma couldn't do it, so Dan did them. That's a little bit of a joke. But Dan did do a lot, yeah.
I'm still recovering. Because I don't remember.
So you stepped in so the actors wouldn't get hurt, but what would happen if the director got hurt?
Well, speaking of that, I was so, because Grandma and Aunt Sonny, they were running. They had to run. I was so afraid that they were going to fall and hurt themselves. And the wardrobe girl ended up slipping and twisting her ankle.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, everything was okay, but I was so worried about them that it happened to somebody else. So.
How about the house it was shot in? Grandma's house.
I was going to let Dan answer that. I don't know if he could hear me. Dan?
Yeah, and I have to apologize profusely here because I am all over the place again. And I apologize.
Okay. This was shot in Montclair, New Jersey. I guess you knew that, but if you didn't. And Dan's been there a long time, and it's a community of filmmakers and people he knows. So we were able to get his friend's house to use, and also the other house too is a friend of Dan.
That's got to be a huge get, like a big relief.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah. And like I said, because he's been a resident in Montclair for a while, we were able to use the store that's in the movie. Also the cafe, which Dan plays at that cafe in a band, the Eugene Chrysler band. So we were able to use that. So we were able to get these things, which was really nice.
And I imagine for a
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it was great because yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the things about the script is that a lot of it takes place in that one cadence, so that in terms of not having to do company moves every day, going to 3 or 4 different spots, really helped us with the schedule.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And getting those kind of locations, especially on like a lower budget movie, had to really help you be able to allocate the budget to other places that maybe were a little less flexible. That's
true. Like the Gorilla Head.
Yeah, exactly. You needed that.
We needed that. Dan made that, by the way, which I was very impressed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Was Planet of the Apes, is that something you personally like and you just thought it would be funny if they had this?
Well, again, this goes back to my brother, the one brother who was obsessed with Planet of the Apes, along with a lot of other people. I'm finding out on Facebook that there's people just obsessed with Planet of the Apes. So that's how I got the idea. I just thought it would be very funny to have these middle-aged men that are almost like children obsessed with the Planet of the Apes. So that's where that came from.
I thought it was a really good poll because it's something everyone knows. It's definitely a part of pop culture, but it's not like, say Star Wars where it's talked about every day.
Agreed. Agreed. You're right. You're right. I never
But
thought about it that way, but you're right. But
yeah.
there's a cult following like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even the like the 70, like the toys and stuff are still collected.
Yeah. And they'll criticize, because the TV show didn't hold up to, they did it all wrong. It's like this. And there was a cartoon, I think I found out too. There was a Planet of the Apes cartoon that was on in the 60s, I think, or 70s. I can't remember now.
That sounds right. Yeah, that's funny. I just thought it was such a great poll, and especially for all three of them to be that into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the underwear scene was a real thing that happened with my brother John, showing me his underwear. Except he was wearing at the time Mets underwear, the baseball team Mets.
Yeah.
And I think he was high. I'm not sure, but can I show you my underwear? And I went no. And the whole thing about cotton, 50% polyester, the whole thing that was real. And he doesn't even remember.
Great.
I said that happened. That happened to us. You don't remember. He doesn't have any recollection.
So he wasn't even doing it to be funny.
No, he wasn't doing it to be funny. He was real.
Okay.
He was serious.
Because that was very funny. That works out really well.
Yeah.
Dan, I'm not sure if you can hear us right now. Is it connected okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sounds good for now.
All right. As much as it was helpful to have the house as the primary location, you didn't have to move around. Did you find it kind of challenging maneuvering the scenes and getting the shots you wanted, being in an actual house with 4 walls for rooms and?
Yeah, I find a lot of times when you're up against the schedule, when you only have 8 days, it's more of a challenge than a lot of times. You need to be more creative because you only have a certain amount of time. And I find that you get to be more creative in a weird way because you have to figure out how to make it work with what you have under the situation that you have. And that actually gets me excited because I had to block it all out and figure out a way to make it all move in the realms of what we had to do it with. And there's a scene where they walk out of one house and cut to a bedroom scene. It's actually my house. We ended up shooting the bedroom scene in my place one other day. So but hopefully you don't even catch that. So, but yeah, it was a challenge, which on one level is actually enjoyable for me. So.
Okay. You get to kind of flex those muscles of the problem solving into things.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come on and making it work. Dan, especially, you had a last minute thing come up, so I appreciate you making it work in the car. No, not at all. I'm really glad it worked out. We got to talk because I had a good time with the movie. It was a lot of fun. So congratulations to you guys. Would have been cool if you got to do more festivals, but yeah.
We're thanking Cork too for putting it out for us.
Oh, right, yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What'd you say, Dan?
I was going to say I want to thank Uncorked for distributing the film for us on May 4th.
Oh, absolutely.
Very excited to actually get it out there.
Yeah, May 4th, it's hitting all the major VOD platforms, correct?
Correcto. Mundo. Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
And we're very grateful on Cork. They've been just the nicest people there.
Excellent.
Keith in particular. Well, actually, Keith is the only one I ever talked to. But anyway, they're good. There must be a group there somewhere. But yeah, he's very good. Yeah, we're happy.
Yeah, awesome. Do you guys want to tell people where they can find, or where listeners can find you online if you do social media promotions, your website, whatever you want to promote?
Well, I guess would be Crappy Mother's Day, the movie. That's on Facebook. That's Facebook. We have that page and IMDb and. Hopefully get on Rotten Tomatoes. I'd like to get on there. So, hey.
For sure. All right. Well, once again, thanks for taking the time to come on. I really appreciate it. The movie's a lot of fun. Everyone should definitely check it out May 4th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. It was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun talking with you. And, I'm here. I haven't been out of the house since 1992, I think. Well, that's what it feels like anyway.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'd like to thank Dan and Bill one more time for coming on the show to talk about their newest movie, Crappy Mother's Day, available now. It's a funny comedy. Check it out. And I really want to thank them for going the extra mile and making sure that it still happened despite last-minute interruptions coming up. Really awesome of them to do. I really appreciate them making sure that things just went. Please like and subscribe to our channel. A lot more interviews, a lot more new movie coverage coming your way. Don't forget to listen to So Wizard Podcast every single week, wherever you get your podcasts. SoWizardPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, movies, videos, not movies, merchandise, and more. We love hearing feedback, so drop us a note in the comments, leave us something on social media. All the accounts can be found after the show and in the show notes. And before I forget, So Wizard Podcast can also be found on Patreon, where you get multiple monthly bonus shows for as little as $1 a month, so you really have no excuse. Check it out, SoWizardPodcast.com on Patreon. And in a more personal note, a friend and I released a comic book at the beginning of this year. Instead of me rambling on about it again, I made this cool ad. Check it out.